How do you do this?
It's
How do you do
African
it?
magic.
There's one country which is not a member, and yet your total membership number is 53. How?
Yeah, you know what? Talking about Morocco, we just to recall that His Majesty the King Hassan II was one of the founding father of the Organization of African Unity, because the African Union. Derives from the transformation of the Organization of African Unity, which was established in 1963. And as I said, the King of Morocco was one of the founding father of this organization, and he was very active in the organization. It is unfortunate indeed that in 1985 they withdrew their membership they withdrew from the African Union, from the OAU at that time, because the heads of states at that time, they accepted to integrate the RASD. It means the Republic of Arabi Sahrawi Democratic, and it is one state established by Polisario. Polisario, which claimed, which asserted sovereignty on the Western Sahara. So, as we know, Western Sahara was one of Spanish colony, and until now, there is a dispute on this land of Western Sahara between Morocco and the Polisario. The dispute is still outstanding, and it is still considered by the United Nations since 1991. Until now, we didn't find yet any outcome on this issue. So that's why Morocco is still out of the African Union, because they withdrew by themselves.
Yes, but Morocco...
For us, it would have been interesting to have Morocco inside, but this is the politics sometimes, so until now we wait, and we expect that next time they will be among us also.
Yes, but Morocco is a very important country,
yeah,
and
for
it is
sure.
an ally to many of us, and it's very closely allied to the United States. And for Morocco, Polisario is a terrorist organization. Does this mean that you support terrorism?
You know, it's not me I support or not support. It's the organization. It is one of the decisions of our heads of state. And it was already in 1982 they accepted to integrate Polisario among the members of the organization. But it doesn't mean that there is no bilateral exchanges between Morocco and some African countries. For example, I know that Senegal has a very good relation with Morocco, and other countries like Madagascar also has a very historical link with Morocco. So it doesn't mean that there is really no relation between Morocco and African countries. And even now, there is a trend to organize some strategic conference on strategic partnership between the AU and its partners. For example, Turkey. We were in Istanbul, and Morocco was among the participants on this summit. It is a summit of Africa-Turkey. There is also another example, the summit between Africa and the European Union. It was held in Portugal, Lisbon, in December 2006, and Morocco was also invited to take part to this summit. And there are a lot of examples to show you that there is no really split between Morocco and Africa. Morocco is one country on the continent, so we consider Morocco really as our brother.
But Africa has a colonial past, and because of the colonial past, it has linguistic differences.
Yeah.
which is that part of Africa is English-speaking and part of Africa is French-speaking.
You forgot the Arabic speaking.
I know, I'm coming to it.
Okay.
There are so many Arab diplomats here who are watching you and me. So how can we forget the Arab world, not with these people sitting here? But starting with the linguistic differences, you then have the other difference, which is between the Arab-speaking Africa and the non-Arabic speaking Africa. In other words, black Africa and brown Africa, if you wish, to put it color-coded.
Okay.
So now you are, in other words, a very complex continent, because you have linguistic differences, you have ethnic differences, you have color differences. And so what is it that brings Africa together in an African Union when you see all these differences in Africa?
But first, what we have in common, we all belong to one continent, you know. And then this is our richness to have all this diversity on the continent. And talking about the language, you are talking about English, French, and Arabic, but I just want you to know that we have almost 2,000, more than 2,000 African languages in Africa. And it is one of our richness, as I told, because the most spoken African language in Africa is the Arabic. And after the Arabic, we have the Amharic, which is spoken not before the Amharic, we have the Swahili. And then the Amharic, which is spoken in Ethiopia. And then we have 3 other languages, the Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba spoken in Nigeria. After that, we have a Malagasy, spoken in Madagascar. So we have this variety of language. We have also other languages like Lingala or Pearl or other languages. So, you know, we have really a diversity of languages in Africa. Why me? Sometimes I ask why we choose French and English. Of course, French and English are brought by our colonizators, but French, English, and Arabic plus Portuguese are the working language of the organization of the African Union. But now there is a trend within the organization to give importance to one language, which is the Swahili. So we try to really teach the Swahili around Africa, even to have one language spoken, African language spoken by all Africans.
Yes, but your definition, you say African continent.
Yes.
But your definition of continent includes Madagascar, which is not on the continent. It's an island away from the continent. And then you go even further to Mauritius, which is even further in the middle of the Indian Ocean. And you have Seychelles and you have the Comoros. So I think you are an expansionist country.
We are not going to Pakistan, not yet. Yeah, but you are right. We have seven islands. We have Cape Verde in the Atlantic Ocean also, Cape Verde, and then Sao Tome Principe. We have also Guinea Equatorial, just one part of Guinea Equatorial. We have Seychelles, Mauritius, the Comoros, and Madagascar. It is the geographic definition of Africa. We are all part to Africa, the mainland and the islands.
Okay. All this is the good news about Africa. You are nice people, the whole continent.
We have a lot of good news there.
But there are lots of bad news also about Africa. Africa has a lot of problems. It has a very large number of conflicts. It has a very large number of refugees. And so let's hear a bit about the problems of Africa. Your first and long-standing problem is with the Horn of Africa, Somalia, Ethiopia, Eritrea, etc.
Djibouti.
Almost some of them